Alright everybody, hello and welcome. As always, I am Sean. This is In The Mix, so welcome to episode 101 of our FC Isle of Man series. If you haven't gone back and watched last week's episode 100, that big milestone, go and check that one out because it's going to give you so much more context to today's episode. It's a really weird place for you to start actually, now I think about it. But this is the one chance I'm going to give you to pause, go check out that episode, then come back, and then after this, it's all spoilers, alright? Have you done it? Are you ready? We of course got promoted in yesterday's episode, or in last week's episode, I should say. As champions of the championship, it does mean we've had a massive off-season. Over the weekend, I think this is probably the longest I've ever taken to actually go through step by step each day to try and make sure that we got the right transfers and retained the right players and did all the best that we could possibly do. But I do love these episodes. I love these season launch ones because everything's so fresh and ready to go. And for the first time, we're at a Premier Division level. So we're actually going to be playing against the likes of the Manchester sides, Chelsea, Arsenal, Tottenham, all the great teams that are in the Premier Division. We're going to get to challenge ourselves against every single week. Because of that, though, we've got a tremendous amount to recap. I've got to introduce you to the whole squad. We'll go through every individual player, I think, and their backup player. We've got a full squad of 22. We'll go through our pre-season results. We'll do a bit of season preview for the for the Premier League itself. Going to have to get out of that habit relatively quickly. And then we're also going to do the first game of the season, which is against a very friendly foe. So more than enough talking from me. Let's jump straight in and have a look at how we've gone. So first things first, we will play later on in this episode the first game of the Premier League season against a very familiar opposition in West Bromwich Albion. We, of course, spent pretty much all of last week trying to hunt them down after they took the lead in the championship and had a good points lead above us. I don't know what happened in the last 10 games of their season, but they kind of capitulated a little bit. They still came up in an automatic promotion spot, but it was really that last day of the season where we secured that league title. And it's always better to actually get promoted with a league title rather than having to go through the playoffs, or an automatic spot seems a little bit hollow and all that sort of stuff that comes along with it. It does mean if we look at this graph here, we get that little extra dot, which means we have had 9 promotions in 12 seasons going into the 13th year. How are we going to fare on our first season in the Premier Division? I don't think I've ever been relegated before in a series that we've done on YouTube. I'm hopeful and I'm confident that we will have enough about ourselves to stay in the Premier League this year, but it is going to be incredibly tough. So we click away from that shiny Sky Bet Championship title that took us so long, took us 3 seasons to actually win the championship and get our promotion sorted. It is the longest that we've spent in any one division, but I guess looking forward as we do the next 10 years or whatever in the Premier League, hopefully we'll have a couple more that can fill out the trophy cabinet here. And these are the men, the gentlemen, that I am going to try and have keep us in the division. We do have a full squad of 22. There are some familiar faces, which you guys will already be seeing here from the squad that helped us get promoted. There's also some very exciting new talent. I think one of the biggest challenges that we had was trying to keep hold of the guys that have done incredibly well for us, like Alta Miranda. There were a bunch of clubs that wanted him. He has signed a new contract. We'll go through that later. Escobar, other teams wanted him. Aguirre, other teams wanted him. Kubis, even last season, had the likes of Premier League sides bidding on him in January. So being able to keep a big core of that group together that's gotten us promoted, I think is going to help us a tremendous amount as we settle into the new season. But what we will do first is jump in and have a look at the guys that have actually left the club, because there are quite a few faces and probably some shocks and surprises in that lineup as well. The first one, Goran Petrovic, the big Serbian winger, was fantastic for us last season. You can see here 3.5-star current ability, 5-star potential. His head was turned by Bournemouth. Bournemouth offered, I think, £10 million for him, which we made the decision to accept, mainly because there was other good wingers on the market. We'll go through those once we get to the squad that we're actually going to go through, but we've gotten rid of a couple of our wingers, and we're actually going to be going with a slight tactical tweak, which I'll get into a little bit further on. But once they came in and put a bid, he was pretty keen to go. The bid was of an acceptable amount. I thought 10 million was good value for what we paid for him originally. If we look at his career stats, 600,000 to turn it into a £10 million profit. We do need that cash at the moment, unfortunately. So it was very easy to actually accept that bid, knowing we could bring someone in of a similar quality in the same position. But we thank him for his services. He was fantastic for us last year. A couple of massive goals in the last week in that run home also. George Madrigal, who was fantastic for us as well. We used him as a messiah, kind of linking the base of midfield and that defensive playmaker that we've got with the forward line. He did a fantastic job for us. Once we made the jump up into Premier Division football, you can see his potential ability dropped down a little bit. He also started to get annoyed about his playing time. He was supposed to be a squad player this season and he wanted to be a first team regular. And then he wanted the cash that came with being a first team regular. So I put him on the transfer market. John Book Motors over in Korea thankfully came in with a bid of about £8 million, and very similar story. We only paid $300k for him 2 seasons ago, £8 million profit 2 years later. He was fantastic for us at a championship level. I don't think he would have played that much at a Premier League division level, but he wasn't someone we were actively looking to replace, and still he started being a massive pain in the ass. Joaquin Coleman, you guys never saw. We actually purchased him this off-season from Penarol, and we've had to take a hit on him. Oh, well, not really. The only hit we took was the wages that we had to pay, but we brought him in for $5 million. We've sent him back out for $5 million. You may have remembered in yesterday's episode, we kind of talked about the Under-20 World Cup and how that was going to go. He was one of the best performers for the Uruguayan Under-20 side. He was very, very good, but then the minute he got here, he spent about 2 weeks training before he decided he wanted to leave and hadn't settled in the area. So thankfully, Leeds came in, matched the amount. We've pushed him out. Good riddance. Goodbye, Joaquin Coleman. You're a pain in the ass from the day you got here. The other one that's left, the other big Serbian winger, Zoran Ilic. I've only just realised now that they're leaving. We had Zoran on one wing and Goran on the left. That was a missed opportunity for me to be calling that out every single episode that they played together. But he again was excellent for us. 3.5-star current ability, 4-star potential. Still only 19. We got a good offer for him out of AEK, £5 million. After picking him up early last season for 600k, a very good turnaround and a good profit. And the reason we've gotten rid of him as well is because there was also some very good younger talent on the market, and we're starting to look towards wonder kids. Once you've got that additional cash, and you can kind of already see here this little bit, the £52 million spent, once you've got that additional cash to bring players in from Premier League TV money and all that sort of stuff, you do kind of start to look more about how you can improve certain areas that perhaps aren't the weakest. And our wingers were never weak last year, but there's just such better depth and value on the market that it was hard not to go after them. Similar story for Luciano Ramirez. He kind of just went under the radar as a fantastic squad player over the last couple of seasons. Spent 3 years with us in the end after we picked him up on a free transfer from Arsenal at the end of his youth contract. Legia Warsaw picked him up for £2 million. It's a good move for everyone. He wasn't going to play. We've got a whole bunch of different left-wing options at the moment, including other players that we've had to send out on loan because we're not ready to kind of cut them loose just yet. But also, we only have one left-wing spot playing each week, so it's difficult to get everybody out there that needs to be playing. Christian Hernandez was fantastic for us as well over the last couple of seasons. 20 years of age now. The Venezuelan left-back has made the move to Burnley. They were relegated last year, so I think they've tried to pick him up knowing that he can perform at a championship level. Still has a fair bit of potential ahead of him. Similarly, though, we only paid 100k for him originally. He went out on loan to Caracas in Venezuela, came back after 6 months and was excellent in the run home for the 2029-2030 season as well, making 22 appearances at that left-back spot. He did suffer a little bit last year with the kind of arrival of Alex Goodlife, and he kind of became a backup. It made sense to actually push him on and move him to a side that was going to play him regularly and also offer us a profit as well. Similar story with Stuart Dorber. He was also a wonderful, wonderful squad player. Really chipped in with some fantastic goals for us last season. He scored 9 goals in 97 appearances. I think he got 8 of them last year, and 8 of them in big games where we really needed him to step up when Petrovic was out injured. Joined us on a free transfer from Man City. He makes his way down to Luton, who themselves got promoted into the Championship out of League One. So hopefully he's going to have a good time down there and helping keep them in the division as well. We thank him for his services. He was, again, another fantastic squad player for us over the last few years. Adam Andrews has moved on. He was a massive pain in the ass the entire time he was here. He signed for Man United, I think on a free transfer last season, and then just started complaining that he wasn't playing every week, even though Javier Aguirre was playing probably the best season of anyone in the squad at that particular time. Christian Henry's also moved on. He was an excellent utility midfielder for us. Again, just depth issues. He like a 2-star current ability, 4-star potential player. Probably isn't going to be the best use at a Premier Division level. So we've passed him on. He's gone over to Sheffield United, who've picked him up for 100k, and it's just a bonus. It's a profit for us. We didn't pay anything for those two. Anything we make is golden. We've sent a couple of guys out on loan as well. Connor Carden, who was at this club last season, he's gone out on loan again to Hamilton. They wanted to keep him for another year after he was there last season. Vasco Vargas, who you guys haven't seen yet, is a player that we actually purchased about 3 years ago when he was 16, I think, from Academica over in Portugal. Very nice little left wing option. We're going to send him out on loan to try and turn this 2.5-star current ability in something closer to 3.5, 4-star, but no reason that he might not come back in a future episode, a future series, future season, whatever it happens to be. And Greg Carragher, another one, a very similar player, a left wing option. He's actually an inverted winger on that side. 2-star current ability, 5-star potential, 18 years of age. We need more English talent. We need English talent coming through. So we've picked him up from Crewe. He's gone out on loan to Crystal Palace in the Championship. I think it's going to be good for him. If he can get some decent football at Crystal Palace, it's going to be fantastic for us, and he'll hopefully come back a more complete player 12 months from now. Now we transition to the good part, the really exciting bit, the new faces, the guys that you are going to want to see. Lars Torp at the top of the list here. Actually, you know what? Let's sort that differently. Let's not do Lars Torp first. Let's sort this by fee paid, because I think that's probably the most interesting part. We have signed another wonder kid. He's dropped off a little bit now. You might look at that and think that's Adam Driver or Kylo Ren, and I would agree with you, but his name is actually Lua Barbosa. We've picked him up from Santos over in Brazil. He's a messiah on support. That is his specialist role. We have had pretty much like kind of plug and play players in that position, but we finally have a specialist, 18 years of age, 3.5-star current ability, 5-star potential. He is the most expensive transfer we've ever made. We paid £13 million to activate his release clause, which meant that Gremio, did I say Santos earlier? Gremio, who we purchased him from, couldn't say no to it. We've offered him a very good contract. He's on 20k a week. It is the most lucrative contract that we have offered anyone. There are a few players that are on this 20k value. When we got our budgets at the end of last year, I think we had 5 times the wage budget than what we had previously. So a couple of the guys that I desperately want to keep around for a few seasons, or at least, kind of brush back the advances of other clubs in the Premier Division that might be looking to pick them up. You will see some spikes in wages that are going to come up throughout the course of these introductions. Already looks to be a very good player. At 18 years of age, he's got a tremendous ceiling above him as well. 17 passing, jumps out immediately. All the key traits that we need him doing, at least 15. Mentally, fantastic player, good flair, good determination, good decision making, excellent off the ball movement, and physically just an absolute beast. Nothing below a 11 as far as his key stats are concerned. Dictates tempo, doesn't dive into tackles, a proper box to box midfielder he will be for us. Thrilled to have him, a very big signing, and that's why we have splashed the cash a little bit to try and get him across and give ourselves another layer in midfield. Coleman was another one that was in there. We already spoke about him. Bob Wrigley we've signed for £4 million. You see quite a few for £4 million. It's £1 million up front and then £4 million over the next 3 years. £3 million over the next 3 years. And in some cases, there's a little incentive, like 20% of the future fee or whatever else. We needed to sign more young English talent. That's why we've brought Bob Wrigley in. I am trying to send him out on loan so that he can get some first-team experience, similar to Greg Carragher. But worst case scenario, he hangs around and we put him in a good mentorship group and he works his way to being a first-team footballer. At 16, already looks excellent. Double figures for all the technical attributes we need. Good mental attributes as well. Physically, he's still growing. Just a young guy. But definitely one for the future that we're going to keep an eye on. We've also brought in Ronnie Senna, who was a player that we actually had and were waiting for him to turn 18 for a few seasons. He joins via the Ajax Academy. We're originally going to use him as a messiah, but then Barbosa became available on the market. 2.5-star current ability, 4.5-star potential. He can fulfill a variety of different roles in here, which is going to be great for the versatility off the bench. Can also play as that deep line playmaker on defend, which we're going to try and use for this season. 16 passing jumps out at you, 16 work rate, some good physical attributes in there as well. Definitely one for the future. And at 18 years of age, the Dutch Youth International will be great for us. Mauricio Rosero, also in for £4 million. He is one of the players that played incredibly well at the Under-20 World Cup. You can see here, made 5 appearances, 1 off the bench in that competition as well. Colombia did very, very well. Quite a few of the Colombian squad was actually suggested to us. Once he became available and we saw some of his traits here, it became clear that we were going to try and bring him in. And it is a part of making a transition from wingers to inverted wingers or inside forwards. We're going to see how we go in the early part of the season with it. But we do want to start trying to get people cutting in a little bit more and a bit more dynamic movement. If you think about us in the championship, we had Alta Miranda running in behind, we had the wingers pushing on. Now I want to see a little bit more like patterns of play into people like finding little pockets of space everywhere and wing backs bombing on and wrapping around and overlapping and all that sort of stuff. So this is kind of the next step in our evolution, moving from wingers to more advanced players, cutting inside or going around the outside and being a little bit more versatile. But he looks to be a very tidy prospect, 2.5-star current ability, 5-star potential, 18 years of age. He's on very little wages a week. We paid very little for him. Definitely still a prospect for the next couple of seasons as well. On the other side, I'm going to skip down a little bit further. Nondier Londono, another Colombian winger, who also had an excellent Under-20 World Cup, 6 appearances, 4 goals, 1 assist, and a 7.65 average rating in that competition. He will play on the left-hand side, an inverted winger there. He's got a very good right foot, a decent left foot as well. If everything goes pear-shaped, he can play as an inside forward, he can play as a winger on that side. He's going to be absolutely fine for us. Wonderful technical attributes. Quite a few of the key things that we're going to have him doing. He's already double figures in. Good mental attributes, maybe has a little bit of growth to do in terms of like determination and flair trying to beat the man, but off the ball's fantastic. His teamwork's great, his work rate's excellent, and physically looks to be just a beast as well. And he has had a relatively good preseason for us as well. He joins from Medellin over in Colombia. We've signed him on a few-year deal, only $5K a week as well. Gives us the opportunity to try and develop him, and if it doesn't work out, we can kind of pass him on, probably at a profit within a season or two as well. But welcome to Londono. Our 2 Colombian wingers replace our 2 Serbian wingers, who are, of course, left. Lucas Fessler we've brought in. We kept an eye on Lucas Fessler for what feels like 3 or 4 years. Came through the VfB Stuttgart Academy, made 1 first-team appearance, 3.5-star current ability, 5-star potential. He plays an inverted winger on that right-hand side, probably starting. Only 18 years of age. We've only paid $4 million for him. Again, £1 million up front, $3 million over the next 3 years, and I think maybe 20% of the future transfer fee for him, but technically looks fantastic. Mentally looks very good. 18 teamwork and 18 work rate are very impressive. 14 flair maybe needs a little bit of work, but that'll come with time played. And as far as his physical attributes are concerned, he's got 16 stamina, 17 jumping reach, 16 agility. A very, very good player already at 18 years of age. And we will definitely give him first team football to try and continue to develop. Goran Pektovic has joined. He was one of the players that my staff consistently tried to tell me to try and sign him because he was playing down at Mansfield at a League 2 level, 2.5-star current ability, 5-star potential, 20 years of age. He's one of the older players that we picked up. Bosnian Youth International, looks to be very good. He'll likely be a backup advanced playmaker for Javier Aguirre. But very good technical attributes, 15 passing and technique, 16 composure, 17 teamwork, 17 balance as physical attributes are concerned. Looks to be a very tidy prospect. And again, I think a player that even if we don't play him this year, even if he does want to move on once he turns 21, we can try and push him on at a profit, given that we've only paid a little bit for him as well. Down one further, the youngest of the squad that has joined, a 16-year-old Barbados international left back that we picked him up from Arsenal. His contract was up. We ended up actually paying for him to try and get him across a little bit earlier. Only 1.5-star current ability and 5-star potential, but we've got some stuff happening at left back. He will be a backup player for at least the next couple of seasons. But at 16 years of age, he's a homegrown talent, which will count towards our homegrown quota in the Premier Division. And look at all these attributes already just from training with a first team group. He's got a very high ceiling, and I think a player that we might see develop quite a bit if given first team football over the next few seasons. So welcome to Akeem Miller as well. Jimmy Winter, fantastically named Jimmy Winter, is the player that we've brought in to play on the left wing as a backup for Londono. We originally were going to do Condello, but then of course he's left. So we brought in the 18-year-old Scottish international from Wraith. Has played a fair amount of football over the last 4 seasons at Wraith, came through and made his debut at, I think, 16 years of age, but he looks to be a very tidy prospect as well. And again, no reason why at 3-star current ability and 5-star potential, he can't jump in at 18 years of age, do a job for us and continue his development as a squad player. Greg Carragher, we already mentioned, out on loan at the moment to Crystal Palace. Lars Torp, who I briefly mentioned, is again another player that we've had signed for, I think, 2 full seasons. The Norwegian full international. We want to bring him in and play him as a deep-lying playmaker on defend. You can see some of his technical and mental attributes have gone down. That's because he's been away with the Norwegian national sides for quite a bit. Still yet to make a first cap, but he has been in the last couple of squads, which is interesting. Only 18 years of age, that's what we've been waiting for him to actually turn 18. He's probably going to take the mantle from the Wolf as being like our midfield anchor player, dropping in, playing at that number 6 position, 2-star current ability, 5-star potential. If we sort everyone by potential, he has probably amongst the highest in the group. But he joins from Molde over in Norway, a very good player, and I think going to be an excellent prospect for us this season. Barzeas, we already spoke about. Gary Pearson, another one that we're going to try and loan out. He joins from Arsenal on a free transfer at the end of his youth contract. 2.5-star current potential, 4.5-star ability. We are still trying to secure loans for him and a couple of other players down in the development centre. I'll just quickly touch on those. Marcos de Almeida is one. Bob Wrigley, of course, is one as well. If we don't loan them out, we'll put them back in the first team and try and get them some development that way. So that's all the new faces, some very big names, some changes to the starting lineup. If we actually look at ourselves tactically, this is roughly the lineup that I think we're going to go with the majority of the season. Kubas, of course, in goal. He's been absolutely magnificent for us over the last 3 seasons, and his development has kind of kept up with the growth of the team. Only 85 conceded in 92 appearances, which is very, very interesting. It'll be interesting to see how that plays out over this season at the higher division, but just an absolutely fantastic sweeper keeper for us. He's the only player I want within the sticks. Turns 21 this year, so we might see some of that potential ability drop down, but I can very much see him very quickly becoming like a proper wonder-kid player if this 3.5-star current ability turns to 4-star before the end of the season. Thrilled to have him. We've also given him a large contract, 20k a week. He's one of those guys that kind of got that pay bump, that bonus. And part of that's because we wouldn't have been in the Premier Division without him. He saved that penalty against Barnsley to give us that point that eventually secured the title. He was absolutely fantastic in a variety of games last season. Just a fantastic player, and thrilled to keep a hold of him. Escobar and Sigurdsson will be our central defensive partnership. Sigurdsson still suspended at the start of the season for that red card he got in the last few episodes of last week. But a very good player, full 9 caps now for the Icelandic national side. 3.5-star current ability, 5-star potential. His growth last season after we picked him up from PSV was fantastic. And I love a left-footed centre-back on that left-hand side. I think it just gives you good balance when you're setting up play. He will continue to work as a ball-playing defender alongside Escobar, who actually takes the captain's armband from the Wolf this season. He really came into his own last year. Not just as a player, 4-star current ability, 5-star potential, a full Uruguayan international now with 2 caps to his name. At 20, still a tremendous ceiling above him. and definitely one of the defensive rocks that we're going to need the best out of this season. Alex Goodlife will continue on the left wing. We picked him up from Man United on a free transfer last year. He was fantastic. Gillon Benchop, another one that's gotten 20k a week. I thought he was fantastic last year without perhaps getting the respect he deserved in terms of match ratings and things like that. He was always available. He was always consistent when he played. He also had an under-20 World Cup. Holland didn't make it through the group stages, but he had an excellent tournament, 7.72 average rating across 4 games. I think he was in the squad of the tournament, not on the starting lineup, but in the squad of the tournament. He was very, very good. And when he returned, there were a few clubs into him, so we decided to give him a bit of extra cash. Torp and Barbosa, we already spoke about introducing them. Javier Aguirre will play at the 10 ahead of them. The advanced playmaker was fantastic for us last season. Ended with our highest average rating for the season with a 7.18. 17 assists from that number 10 spot last season. That's exactly what we need for him. Ex-Atletico Bilbao Jr., his development last season was fantastic. He's at 3.5-star current ability. He will go to 5-star potential, and I think if he has another year like he did last year, we could see this jump up relatively quickly. And he's very much flirting with that wonder-kid status. I could see that coming through for a couple of these different players, but we'll give him another year's development and see how he goes. Fessler on the right, cutting in as that inverted winger. Londono on the left, cutting in as an inverted winger. And Alta Miranda, the big man up top. We have offered him a big contract as well, 20k a week and quite a few different performance bonuses. If you see here, like he could make himself very, very rich this season. We gave him £1 million as a loyalty bonus, mainly because I wanted to try and secure him early. There were a bunch of different teams sniffing around, and I thought if we go any further in the off-season, they're going to start making offers. Just the fact of them wanting him will probably unsettle him a little bit. The new contract kind of pushed up a lot of his release clauses as well. He's now at £47 million, which is very important. If we do get relegated, quite a few of our players actually have relegation release clauses. Whether teams are willing to pay remains to be seen. And a 50% sell-on fee percentage. I just wanted to try and keep him. That's basically what I've done. Is it the best financial deal for the club? No, definitely not. I should be trying to get as much money out of him as possible. But I think given that he is really like the first club-owned wonder kid that we've got, I think it's important, one, to keep him, and then also, have him here for the first season in the Premier League. His goals last season were fantastic for us. We need those similar goals and similar production out of him this year to keep us in the division, but just a fantastic player. Thrilled to have him as well. Otherwise, the backups, Vizcanyan stays around for another season. Has been an excellent backup goalkeeper. Does well when called upon. Maybe hitting his ceiling in terms of potential ability, but the Armenian international has been great for us since he joined. Greisinger stays. He's also gotten a bit of a cash bonus now, up to 10k a week. But a great third choice centre-back. Not really any difference between him and Sigurdsson, other than Sigurdsson being a little bit younger and left-footed. That's the only reason that Greisinger does not start. Sean Dixon gets another year, the ex-Tottenham junior and Australian international. A more than capable backup wing-back option. He has been great. Abubakar Kamara, probably his last season for the club, if I'm being honest. There wasn't a tremendous amount of forwards available on the market within our budget, but we only really needed a backup anyway. I wanted to give Alta Miranda the year. He's going to be more than capable. Coming off the bench, chipping in with goals when we need him to. And he will turn 21, which I think means his potential ability is probably going to disappear. But at £8.5 million value, given that we only picked him up for 1.5 2 seasons ago, we're probably going to make a profit once we eventually move him on as well. Tyrone Taylor stays for another year. I'm thrilled to be able to give both Tyrone Taylor, and I'll tie them together at the same point, the Wolf, the opportunity to play Premier League football. They've both been with us since League One. They got promoted with us as champions from League One. They got promoted with us as champions from the Championship as key contributors. They are both homegrown club players now, having been at the club for quite a while. Great to be able to give them the opportunity. And both have accepted squad roles where they have dropped down just a little bit. Look at their agreed playing time. They're only expected to be fringe players, which means they're not really going to be expecting to playing all that much. And as far as squad players go, they're both just fantastic professionals. I'm thrilled to have them both. And we'll give them the token appearance here or there where we need to as we see fit. So that's the squad. And basically we're taking the same mentality that we did last season where we want to really go toe-to-toe with everyone as much as possible, which is why instead of using like our usual positive structure, and it's all just the same, it's the aisle squeeze, it's the same in possession instructions, but the cautious mentality is a backup in case things go real wrong, and we've got the attacking mentality there. I really want to use the attacking mentality as our default setting and really go after teams. If it's not working and statistically we're just getting battered, we can drop back to positive style is the words that I'm trying to get out of my mouth here, which is more possession based, a bit more shorter passing, a bit higher tempo, just shorter passes, not really trying to knock it that long, and you can't really concede when you've got possession, so that's kind of that option there. And then cautious is if we really need to get 10 men behind the ball as much as possible and just punt long balls at Alta Miranda to chase, which might happen given we've got, like away trips to Etihad Stadium, away trips to Anfield, to Old Trafford, all those stadiums. This one might actually get used a bit more this season than you've probably seen it in the last few years as well. But I want to go attacking as a default. If we're going to lose, I'd rather lose 3-2 than 1-0. And so far, in pre-season, our results using this attacking structure have been fantastic. If we go and have a look at the schedule, we have won every single game. We've played some big sides as well. We beat Celtic, we beat Bayer Leverkusen, Werder Bremen, AZ Alkmaar, PSV, Bordeaux, Rennes, Club Brugge from Belgium, and Anderlecht 6-1 in the last friendly, which is a little bit of a touch-up game to try and get ourselves as ready as possible for our Premier League debut. We do have a good run to start as well, to be completely honest. We play West Brom, who've been promoted with us. We play in our second game Huddersfield, who've been promoted as well. Then West Ham before the Carabao Cup kicks off, and we play Newcastle at home. So I'm hopeful that we can get ourselves like 6 to 9 points in the first season. They say that 40-point mark is the mark you need to aim for to stay in the division, and really our only focus for this year, it's not going to be cup competitions. I'll rotate for the Carabao Cup, I'll rotate for the FA Cup. We just want to make sure that we stay in the Premier Division this season, get ourselves another large transfer kitty to continue developing the squad, continue bringing in wonder-kid players to try and help us get up the division as quickly as possible. I don't expect us to immediately go out and smash it at a Premier Division level. I think we'll struggle to stay in the division. I think we'll struggle to get top half. I think we'll struggle to get European places, and then eventually struggle for the Premier League. I think this will now become a longer term save, and we look for like 5 years of consistent success at a Premier Division level before we're actually challenging for titles or European football or competition places or whatever else. So important that we, and by we, me especially, manage our expectations and don't get too frustrated. We're going to trust the process here about staying in the Premier League. I did mention that Alex Miranda was the wonder kid that is the closest at the moment. If we sort by current ability, though, we've got quite a few players who I think are on the cusp of wonder kid status. I could see Escobar, Sigurdsson, Aguirre, Fessler, Barbosa, maybe Greisinger if he plays, and Kubis all getting to that status relatively quickly. And then we've got guys like Londono, Winter, Benchop, who are at 3-star current ability, 5-star potential still. If they get decent runs in the side, and like we've seen players jump a full star rating throughout the course of a season, if they can do that, they'll probably move to wonder kid status as well. I think very quickly we could have, of this group, maybe like 6 or 7 wonder kids in the squad. Whether that means they're actually going to hit like elite level status remains to be seen, but it might also help us drive up the transfer value and make a big profit from them as well. As far as the finances are concerned, we did have a drop off here, which is where we announced the new stadium that's being built. FC Isle of Man Stadium will be ready in 2 seasons, which means we spend the next 2 years at Wigan Stadium, the DW Stadium in Wigan. Not ideal. It would have been great to have our first Premier League game on the Isle of Man, but that's fine. It'll be a happy homecoming in a couple of years once we actually get there. But we're back up into the red now, mostly because of those player sales that we discussed earlier. We've used a fair chunk of the transfer budget. We do have £17 million remaining, but I wanted to keep as much as possible to try and give everyone high collective win bonuses for staying in the league and all that sort of stuff. I don't expect us to win any silverware this year, so that's just an added bonus, a little bit of a boost to our morale. Now, as far as the division is concerned, as we look at the Premier League and the season preview, it is expected that Man City will challenge Chelsea, and Liverpool also expected to be up there. Funnily enough, Man United, who actually won the division last season, only 7-1 favourites. Tottenham and Arsenal expected to round out the Champions League and Europa League spots as the top 6. Wolves have been in the division the entire time. They are a very, very good team, managed by Thiago Silva, interestingly enough. Actually, I should touch on that as well. At Man City, Pep Guardiola is still there. He's not left. He's stayed there the entire time. Has won a tremendous amount, but he's been there pretty much since the start of the season. There are a couple other coaches as well. Frank Lampard is still at Chelsea, but he actually left. He got sacked at Chelsea a few seasons ago. Went to Inter, then was manager of England, then Olympique Marseille, and then he stood down to take the Chelsea role again. A role, funnily enough, that we were linked with in the press, but I shot down those rumours relatively quickly. Luis Enrique is managing Liverpool. Zidane is managing Man United. And Bruno Lage, or Lage, I'm not sure how you pronounce that, is managing at Tottenham. He's actually in his second spell at Tottenham, another manager making his return. But I think at the start of the game, he would have been at Benfica as the backup team's manager. He's had spells at Dortmund and Newcastle as well before returning to Tottenham. Arsenal managed by Didier Deschamps. Eddie Howe, of course, at Norwich. He's been poaching our players for a couple of seasons now. Fabio Cannavaro at Bournemouth. Jesse Marsh, who I think is the Red Bull Salzburg manager, is now at Brighton. A couple other no-name players here. Leicester, interestingly, have a 34-year-old regen as a manager. Grant Ritchie, Scottish regen player. Looks decent, but not spectacular. As far as the odds for the season goes, Leicester 1,001, Aston Villa 1,001, Huddersfield 1,001, West Brom 1,001, and down the bottom, FC Isle of Man 1,001. So we are very much pegged for relegation favourites. But we've made a habit of defying media expectations throughout the course of the series so far. I don't really have any concerns about doing better than what's expected of us. As far as the Media Dream 11 is concerned, Man United have 3 players. The goalkeeper here, Doyle, Charalabus, a Cypriot winger. on at right back, and Serge Cordero, who I think they only signed a couple of seasons ago from Valencia. They did indeed. Only 22, he looks to be very good. Liverpool have 3 players, a right winger, a central defender, and this Rodrigo guy on the left wing. Arsenal have 2 players, a central defender and a forward, Rubido, who looks very good, 21-year-old Argentine. City have 2, Todibo, the left back, Borussia, the forward, and Chelsea have 1 in midfield. Theo McKinnon, full English international, 23 years of age, looks very, very good. So very even split there. It's interesting, I think, that Tottenham don't have anyone involved, given they're expected to be up towards the top sides. It's interesting that Chelsea only have 1 representative there, given that they are expected to finish second in the league. As far as our key players are concerned, it is Alta Miranda and Escobar, which is to be expected. They are our 2 best players in terms of current ability. And it's going to be a challenge, but it's a challenge that we're definitely ready for. I'm keen to get going, and it will be, thankfully, very familiar opposition today against West Brom, and definitely a winnable game to start the season. Only concern we've got is Sigurdsson's red card. He will probably drop out, and we might start Grassingate ahead of him. It will also probably see Tyrone Taylor jump on the bench, just so we've got that defensive depth. No concerns about homegrown players in the Premier League, which is fantastic. We don't have to worry about getting spaces on the bench for homegrown players. The Championship, I think, due to the registration rules, sometimes is more difficult than the Premier League to actually get out of. But once I kind of clicked onto the fact that we didn't have to be too worried, the idea of getting English talent wasn't a priority. And we actually don't have any real English talent. We've got 1 player in Tyrone Taylor who's probably not going to play all that much. Otherwise, it's a very diverse, multicultural lineup. We're pretty much the United Nations, actually, when you think about it. But more than enough talking from me, as much as I love the sound of my own voice. We're going to jump forward now and have a look at the 2 lineups for the West Brom game. So with the exception of the Sigurdsson suspension, it is pretty much a full-strength lineup. Grassinger, of course, comes in for him. Kubas in goal, though. Escobar will switch to the left-hand side as the left-sided centre-back. Grassinger will come in on the right. Goodlife and Benchop as the wing-backs. Torp and Barbosa makes their debuts at the base of midfield. Aguirre at the 10. Londono makes his debut at the left wing spot. Fessler makes his debut on the right, and Alta Miranda will lead the line up top. It's a very familiar West Brom lineup. They haven't strengthened too much. There's a couple of new faces here making their debuts. Jordan Tezzi, 31-year-old Dutch right-back who comes through the PSV Academy. Been at Villarreal for a few seasons, joins West Brom during the off-season and makes his debut today. They've also picked up Tom Davies, who's now 33 years of age, from Celtic. He left Everton in 2021, went to Celtic, made 300 appearances just about, and now returns to the Premier League with West Bromwich. We've got Emmers alongside him, is going to make his debut. He looks alright, nothing spectacular. 32-year-old Belgian midfielder. Came through the Genk and then into academies from the looks of things. Otherwise, very similar lineup. They've got Sam Greenwood at left wing. He was excellent for them last year. Ryan Brewster, who scored a tremendous amount of goals up top. And Rodak in goal, who gave us a whole bunch of issues when we played them. Passionately, we're going to say, or assertively, let's just say, go out there and enjoy yourselves today. Everyone's saying positively. Lionel Alta Miranda looks nervous. We're going to say, I have faith in you, make a difference. And if we can get him settled early and scoring early at the Premier Division, we are going to be in for a hell of a run. Wide free kick here, Aguirre to take. Got a couple of big bodies in there. Grassinger on his start. Wasn't expected to start. A first goal of the season for him. And inside 10 minutes, we've taken a lead against the old rivals from the Championship. Perhaps we've recruited better. Perhaps we just had a deeper squad last year that's developed a little bit further now. But a lovely back post header. Keeper could do nothing about it. And we take a 1-goal advantage as he bows to the crowd and makes his way over to the corner flag. Wide free kick here for West Brom. They've gotten a flick on header. Teze, the debutant right back, just flicks over the crossbar. Highlight continues here, actually. It's going to start with Kubas. Played to Grassinger, now to Aguirre, who can turn in midfield. Barbosa, first involvement we're seeing from him. It's a good ball out to Benchop at right back, who's then given possession back to West Brom. Greenwood comes forward now. We just need to stand him up. Cut back into midfield to Chizov, who I think is also a debutant regen. Teasy finds Bliss and he gets a strike away. It's clipped the bottom of the post and we're going to scramble it away here just. Greenwood recovers possession, cuts it back to Emmers, ball towards Brewster. Davies with the header never looked like it was going to trouble the keeper. But a little bit of danger there. They've clipped the post, showing that there is a bit of life in West Brom yet. Throwing now on the left-hand side. Goodlife finds Torp. The Norwegian playmaker plays it back to Escobar. Now across to Grassinger. We can work it over the right-hand side here. We've got a 2v1. Barbosa finds Alta Miranda. Now out to Fessler. Can we get the overlapping fullback in Benchop working? Goes for the deep cross. Tezzy heads it back to Rodak, who just panics a little bit. The clearance should get tidied up here by Grassinger. Back to Kubas. Just let us get our shape. No rush. Played now to Grassinger again. Back to Kubas. Now Escobar, who can turn and play it into midfield. Out left to Goodlife. Now let's work this 2v1 situation. He's bombing on a little bit. He's put it in for Londono, who squares it up to Alta Miranda a yard out, and he's gotten his first goal of the season, his first goal at Premier League level. The keeper maybe could have come out and done a little bit better than that. I would say if a striker's finishing from inside the 6-yard box, the goalkeeper probably should be getting there first. But a lovely little pass here from Goodlife. Londono gets his head up, puts it into a good area of space, and Alta Miranda just tears away from that defensive line and side-foots home for the 2-goal advantage. We might, I very rarely use it, but let's see what praise does. Let's just give that a whirl. Everyone should get fired up by it. There's a couple that are fired up. We've got a highlight here again. Good life with the throw-in on the left-hand side. Aguirre, lovely little turn in a sharp space. Ball gets cleared away. Langford puts it forward for West Brom. Greisinger puts it straight back in. Tezzy again with a good header back to Rodak. Gets a nice round of applause from the stadium. Ball forward here from Rodak. What's he going to do? He sent it way out left. Greenwood, no one gets tight enough to him. He brings it down on his own and plays it back into midfield through Chizoff at the base of midfield there. Bliss looks for Tezzy on the overlap, who has been busy on his debut. Ball in behind for Brewster, who thankfully his flick-on header straight at Kubis. Actually, it gets brought back for offside, so we have dealt with it quite well. Thrown on the right here, Aguirre, lovely little touch to Fessler. Now Barbosa, square to Torp. Oh, I thought maybe he was going to wind up on his debut there. They've won it back though, West Brom. Bliss is coming forward now on the right-hand side. Someone's got to get tighter to him. He hasn't got much of an angle to work with, and thankfully the drive was pretty tame, straight at Kubis. But you can see West Brom still have that space in behind. We are kind of opening ourselves up a little bit to 1v1 scenarios. And we've got a couple of minutes here left in the second half. In the first half, 2 minutes of additional time. At half-time, 2-0 up, 9 shots, 8 on target, 61% of the ball. They've had 5-1 and 39, but they have had a couple of highlights in there. Assertively, I'm going to say, very happy with the way things are going. Keep it up, lads. You may remember my team talk at the end of last season wasn't great. It destroyed the morale somehow. We've kind of just kept it at middle of the range so far this season. I need to try and improve that in the opening 10 games or so. But as always, we'll give it another 15 minutes and then we'll have a look at some subs. There's a couple of yellow cards we're going to have to keep an eye on. But otherwise, form and fitness looks relatively good so far. All right, so we're going to make 2 subs. We're going to bring on Tyrone Taylor at left back, which isn't his preferred position. But I just think it's probably more suited to us to get good life off that he's on that yellow card. And Torp's got a yellow card as well, so he'll come off for Ronnie Senna, who'll make his debut as the deep line playmaker. Probably not the smartest thing in the world to be playing a centre-back at left-back on your Premier League debut, but I think going for the clean sheet and dropping off a little bit more is more important than bombing on any further. Tyrone Taylor at least looks motivated by the feedback. We're also going to use Old Faithful, our Get Creative shout after an hour. If we can get a couple more goals, it's going to be a great start to our Premier League season. Ball with Aguirre, now Barbosa. Can send it out right. We have got that 2v1 there if we move this ball quick enough. Fessler with possession now, back into Barbosa. Good touch around the player, gets into the box. Can he square it up here from the wide area? Puts it back into a good area, and Alta Miranda has managed to win the ball back and find the finish for his second goal of the season in pretty much the same movement. They're saying it was Steve Thompson's error. We'll check it out here in 3 dimensions. Good play here from Barbosa, just holds the man off, gets into the box. He's a big boy, actually. Didn't realise how tall he was when we picked him up. Square ball back in, and then Thompson takes a touch in the box, which can't be done, and Alta Miranda, at the first time of asking, just smashes that one into the back of the net for a 3-goal advantage on our Premier League debut. West Brom just must have nightmares about us at the moment. Aguirre, Londono, backstick ball was not a bad effort. Pickering pinballs it around and then Davies clears it forward. Greisinger with a free header back in midfield. Senna, first involvement from him, cycling the ball out to Benchop on the right full-back spot. Now Barbosa, again beating the man quite easily. Now Benchop in the wide right area, goes front post towards Alta Miranda. Fessler will cover, Benchop puts it back in. Cleared away by West Brom. But the pressure's unrelenting at the moment. Londono's picked up a yellow card. And you know what? That might mean that we bring on another debutant here. Londono's yellow card will take him off and put on Jimmy Winter. The young Scottish youth international can make his debut. Passionately, we'll say we've got faith in him. And we're going to give him about 15 more minutes to try and make it debut to remember with a goal or assist or something like that. It's a deep free kick here. Benchop to take on the halfway line. Sends it in behind for Alta Miranda. His chance for the hat-trick was there. The drive had a fair bit of venom on it. Keeper wasn't getting anywhere near it, but just over the crossbar. 10 minutes remain. We're going to use our demand more shout here. Or a couple of players look pressured. Maybe we've used that at the wrong time. 3 minutes to be added on. Throwing on the right-hand side. A whole lot of highlights in this first game. We might be coping with the jump up better than I expected. Ball forward to Brewster. They've committed a few men forward here. I think they've gone 3 up top. Davies now. Great tackle from Escobar. Winter with a reverse pass to Aguirre. Switch was on there for a split second. Taylor now at left back. Back into centre. Work the ball out to the right-hand side, boys. We've got 3 men out there doing nothing. Davies, ball over the top for Gale. Greisinger with a very important intervention. McCartan, back to Chizov. I just want to hold on to the clean sheet here, I think. Tezzy cuts inside. Aguirre with a great interception in midfield. And he's going to go past a couple in midfield here. And a good strike. Rodak with an excellent save before Thompson scrambles it away. A fantastic run from the little Spanish playmaker there. Read the game tremendously well. We're through 3 minutes of additional time. Referee calls full time. It's a great 3-0 win on our Premier League debut. What a start to the season. 15 shots, 12 on target, 62% possession, 7-2 and 38 for West Brom. Passionately, we're going to say, very happy with the result and the way that you boys played. If you had to offer me 3-0 at the start of the game, I definitely would have taken it. I do think, potentially, like a better side than West Brom, the amount of chances that we gave them, they'd potentially hurt us a little bit more. So maybe it's a scenario where once we go a goal up, we try and defend a little bit more, go to our positive structure, try and keep possession a little bit more to try and minimise their chances. But look at that, top 4 side on the opening day of the season. No one's going to take that away from us. Chelsea, Man United, Man City, Aston Villa, Tottenham, Liverpool, West Ham and Newcastle all getting first day wins. Only the one draw between Arsenal and Southampton at the start of the season. But Chelsea, a thorough performance, beating Huddersfield 6-1, albeit 10-man Huddersfield, and they scored 4 of those goals after they went down to 10. Quality of possession provides a victory. Alta Miranda starts the season in superb form, an 8.8 match rating with his double. Rodgers disappointed with a humbling defeat. He must absolutely despise me at the moment. Fessler's got a tight hamstring, but that's fine. We actually have a full week's gap before the next match. And Alta Miranda, let's give him a little bit of praise. He was superb in front of goal last time out. 2 proper poacher efforts from the pressing forward. And Barbosa impresses on his debut. He was good, actually. I don't think we saw him lose the ball at any point. We might have a proper Messiah on our hands here to be a little bit of a creative spark. A bit deeper in midfield. Fessler, Torp, Londono, Winter and Senna also make their debuts in the match. But really, it went as well as we could possibly hope. Now, as we look forward, we are probably going to jump forward just a little bit. And we might play the Huddersfield and West Ham games off screen and see how we go in those ones. We might play the Carabao Cup fixture. The reason I want to bring you that game is we're going to rotate the squad entirely, play all the backup players. Those guys that you guys don't really get to see in an episode. And if anyone actually catches the eye or plays well, they might stake their claim to be playing a little bit more regular first team football. So that might be interesting to get you to see the whole bench. And then we'll play Newcastle at home, who are a very, very strong side. If we look at their squad, actually, we'll do that in the next episode. Let's not spoil the content too early. But I do want to try and bring you guys as much league football as humanly possible in our first season in the Premier League. All right, a tremendous amount that we've gotten through today. If you have watched the entire thing, thank you. I really do appreciate it. But I always love these start of the season episode. Everything's fresh. Everyone's hopeful, everyone's excited for the new year and how we're going to go, and I think our season has started as well as we could possibly hope for, with 3 early points to kind of take the edge off. If you want to help celebrate our final arrival into Premier League football, you can drop a like in this video. It does please that YouTube algorithm, gets us higher in search results when people look for Football Manager content. Or you can subscribe to the channel if you want to be kept up to date on all our future videos. We've had a great run of Monday to Friday uploads for probably the last 3 or 4 months. And yes, lockdown and quarantine has helped with that, but I do want to try and continue it through the rest of 2020 as well. But more than anything, thank you so much for watching. That's the part I appreciate the most. I've been Sean, and I'll see you all again in the mixer.